Hi everyone, welcome back. We're here in Sydney to check out some watches, and of course, we'll check out Seiko first. It's located here in Pitt Street in the middle of the city. Most boutiques and authorized dealers are within walking vicinity in the city, especially the big brands like Rolex, Omega, JLC, IWC, and more. There are only two Seiko boutiques in Australia, and the other one is in Melbourne, which I intend on checking out as well. This is also where I bought my Seiko Baby Turtle about 4 years ago now. I've always liked watches and I've always had watches on, but I think that the Seiko Turtle I bought 4 years ago was a trigger in opening my eyes to more brands. I just remember being so amazed at the watch, and it was the most expensive watch I've bought back then. It's the SRPC 41. I still have it today, and it's one of the watches that will never leave my collection. So here we are at the Seiko Boutique. It's a candy store for those who love watches and for those who love Seiko. Let's start with the basic model, the Seiko 5, which has been having the spotlight since these different versions of the Seiko 5 has been released. And I have to admit, I think I am one of the few, or if ever there are others, who does not like the logo 5. I'd rather have it without the logo, and since there were a few releases of the Seiko 5 that highly resembles the discontinued SKX models, which I still want to add in my collection, but hopefully without the logo 5. These are the recreation of the King Seiko. Very beautiful watches and extremely easy to wear with their 37mm diameter size. Definitely good for men and women. We've got here the gray and the silver dial. I do see them as an upgraded alternative to the Seiko Sarbs due to their size and design. And here's the black dial of the King Seiko. These are the Prospex divers with a spring drive movement. Handsome watches, and they are uniquely Seiko. You can tell right away that these are Seiko watches, but they're also huge at 44mm, which unfortunately doesn't cater to people with smaller wrists. Some alpinists, most of the models are under the Prospex line, and with either the 4R or 6R movement. We have here more diverse watches, which most people look for in Seiko. They do attract the most attention, especially the SPB models. We have here the Sumo, Samurai, and Captain Willard Recreation. There's the SLA 021 Marine Master in the middle. I wish these Seikos come in smaller cases. I'd be jumping on them in an instant. There's some speed timer chronographs, the reinterpretation of the 62 Mass Divers watch, and the 55th anniversary divers with the Seiko's high beat movement. Now the Presage line. These are nice designs, but there's two particular models that has been circling in my mind ever since I saw them, and they are absolutely in the considering phase of buying, at least in my mind. But let's pass the Astron line first. I thought I considered these before, just for their accuracy. These are GPS watches, and they are plus minus 1 second every 100,000 years. And that's crazy. These are mostly in titanium as well. Now these are the Presage models that I couldn't get out of my mind. Especially the ones that has Arita porcelain dials. I do wish they have better movements, because I feel like the 6R movement doesn't really match the elegance of the Arita porcelain dial. But in saying that, these are still something that I'm heavily considering getting, purely for that dial. It is just mesmerizing. And if I do get it, I'd get the blue dial with the bracelet just because the strap is too long and it really annoys me. And they are both so uniquely beautiful. So it's a difficult choice. More presages with the 4R movement. Now this is the 62 Mass Reinterpretation. This is the SLA 043 and it's limited to 1700 pieces. It's 40 millimeters in diameter. It also has a high beat counterpart, which is the SLA 037, which is this one. It is also limited to 1100 pieces. They are exactly the same except for the movement and the rubber straps design is different. The SLA 043 on my wrist has the 8L35 movement and the SLA 037 has the 8L55 high beat movement. The dilemma here now is, would you buy these awesome looking Seiko watches for 7 or 9,000 Australian dollars, or would you go for a Swiss brand? I personally would still go for Seiko for the main reason that this gives me more joy when I see it. The only thing that stopped me from buying this is the strap. It's too long and I don't like replacing the original strap or bracelet of my watches. This one here is the SPB 297 with a blue dial. I think if you missed the release of the SPB 149 and you still want to own it, this would be a great alternative. I love this Prospex line too much that I have the SPB 143 and the SPB 213. And here's our favorite, the SPB 267 with a light blue Arita porcelain dial. This is limited to 2,000 pieces, 6R27 movement, and 41 millimeters in diameter. I really think I'm gonna get this one. I can't get over it, can't stop thinking about it. It fits my wrist, and just that light blue dial and the way it's made catches me. It's also affordable. This one here is the SPB 093. It also has a porcelain dial but with a white creamy color. I love them both, but again, I'll go for the blue dial with the bracelet. Another reason is the leather strap is again too long. But just look at them and just imagine having at least a better movement. Yes, the price would be unattainable and unreasonable, but I think it at least matches the dial and design. It's almost a disrespect having the 6R27 movement, but I still think there's a chance for me to get it. I just really love it. And here is an example of what I'm talking about regarding the SPB 267. This is the SRQ033. It's the Porco Rosso edition. Porco Rosso is a Japanese animated adventure film. This has an enamel dial, limited to 600 pieces, and has an 8R48 movement. It's 1mm bigger at 42mm, and it's also double the price tag. But this is what I'm talking about. The movement matches the whole design. But I still prefer the SPB 267 though. The blue Arita dial just really got me. Now these are displayed on the window. Some more presages. Prospex line. It's really a candy store feel in here. Imagine there's no Seiko. Where would we go? There wouldn't be any affordable watches. Well, there would be, but I can't imagine any other brand that would start an average earning person or would open an average person to the world of luxurious watches. Seiko is the gateway drug. And it doesn't end in Seiko. When you've experienced the joy of having a Seiko, where do you go next? Well, that's where we are going next. It's a huge jump in terms of price range, but it's also something that you would consider when you reach a milestone. Of course, it is the Grand Seiko I'm talking about. And before that, let's look at some displays here outside the boutique, which I think is a great marketing technique, and nobody would attempt to steal them, because they're just Seikos in the eyes of other people.